All right, sorry, y'all. I had to start over again because I accidentally hit the lock button on the phone and it closed out. So the point I'm trying to get to, y'all, is with everything that's happening in life, in this society we're in now, you got to find the time, right, to sit down with your kids. Maybe not so much online time, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, but sit with your kids. And if they're small enough, put them in your lap so that they have a sense of security and they feel loved, right? And women, that is, not men. And, show them how to do things so that they feel loved and they have the incentive to learn things faster and better. When children feel like people care about them, they take more of an interest in what it is they're doing. All right, so then you have the other issue that we have to get to. You got to find the time to sit down with them and get that work done. You got to get the penmanship books. And right now, Amazon, because I had just bought these for one of my grandsons not too long ago, they have penmanship books now with the indentation, so that when they copy or trace along the words, the page is designed where it's sunken in so that they can actually get the flow of how they're supposed to write the letter, both in script and in printing. So you could try that as well. Amazon really has a lot of stuff, even though I know we're supposed to be boycotting. Sometimes you got to get what you got to get, and that's it, and get the hell out. So anyway, you have that. But then the biggest issue you have is the breakdown of the family. And I'm not talking about a fucking black male and a woman. I'm talking about the fact that you have a lot of black women, young black women these days, with issues with their mothers and older women in general, and they don't understand the value of having extended family. And they've been literally brainwashed by social media, with everybody now is on the I'm in therapy kick, when at one time nobody would fuck with therapy with a long spoon, So now everybody wants to be in therapy. And so now you have all of these either therapists, sociologists, psychologists, and psychiatrists out here practicing their internalized racism, and coupled with the racism that is in psychiatry, right? And the first thing they always tell black people is to alienate yourself from your family. Cut off your mother. Cut off everybody who you don't agree with or doesn't agree with you. Because this is the way they live, right? This is not how we live. We know as adults, or we should know as adults, you can argue with people all day. You can fucking dislike them. But you're still supposed to be able to communicate with people and be civil. And still be able to negotiate and come to some type of understanding or a compromise. You don't just throw people away if you really don't have to, because in this world, there's a saying I always live by. Never burn your bridges, because you never fucking know when you gotta cross back over them. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a person where I was always taught by my grandmother as a child, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I really practice that shit with people in my life. People who interact with me, they really know that about me. Like, if I have a problem with you, I'm just gonna not fucking, I'm a cool out. I'm a back off from you. I'm not gonna have very much to say. I'm gonna keep my distance, like, not to cause an issue. But if I really feel like I have to say something to you because I think we need to break the ice or extend an olive branch, I will do that. But if it's something like where at work, right? I actually am part of the union, so I can't act like a little kid and really not talk to people and have problems with them and feel like it's okay to be like that, right? So a lot of those people that I don't really care for, I will have civility and basic pleasantries, nothing else beyond that, because it's just ridiculous, So, but anyway, we have to stop this. We have to get to the point where if you want to survive in this climate, right? Because I don't know if y'all heard, Trump thinks that he's really going to get a third term. Now, he believes that he can just do whatever he wants, but he can't if you don't allow him to. If you vote out all the Republicans and vote in all the Democrats, he will not be able to have a third term. Legally, he's not supposed to be able to. But the same way Bloomberg did that shit with New York, where he got 3 terms as being a mayor, Trump is going to use that as a precedent to do that with the president. But we still have the last say in what he will do, because we could vote no. And we could vote no way before he gets to that point, by making sure that no more Republicans get in office to back his stupidity, and we put in people who are actually going to fight him, like the Democrats, so that we could get our country back, get our jobs back, get our Social Security back, get our, I'm just throwing everything out that he attacked. Get our Social Security back, Medicaid cuts, them fucking up the Department of Education, fucking with the military, taking away Roe versus Wade. Everything they did, we could get it back if we just get rid of the Republicans and overrule them, where the Democrats have the overwhelming majority in both the Senate and the House and everywhere else locally. Then you could get the country back to where it's supposed to be, and God willing, be further than it should be already. So all of these things we have to think about when we're dividing our families, having problems from generation to generation, which is why I was always against this generational terminology like Gen X, Gen Z, because what it does is it causes divide and conquer, separate and divide. It causes a us versus them mentality instead of us being one collective unit, regardless of our age, all working for the same goal, which should be the progression of black women and girls, you know? So when you allow all those things to tear down your future, you don't have much progress. And it's important, because if all of our families had those tight bonds the way we did, it wouldn't matter how many people he takes the jobs from, because young women could go back home to their moms and live in their mother's house. Their cousins could live there, their aunts could live there, you know, sisters, sister-in-laws, they could all live together as women, take care of each other with however little money or large money they make, and they would never have to worry about suffering. But when you allow America and the different extenuating factors inside of America to make you break your family up, have problems with your family members, you lose, because now you don't have support systems that you desperately need in times of national, personal, and incidental crisis. And if you don't think that these people don't think of this, they do. They're already thinking about ways to undermine us and get over on us for this fool to get back into office and to outthink us by ways of getting around whatever we try to do to take their power away. Because they do listen to every video that we post. This is what they do. When you have an enemy, you are supposed to monitor them so you could best them. So this is the way we should think about them in turn. Like with all these special elections going on in every state, right, from now till 2028, you should use every opportunity to get rid of as many Republicans in office as you can, so that you could sit Donald Trump's ass down and stop him from thinking he will ever be allowed to be a dictator. If you get an overwhelming amount, or the majority amount of Democrats in office everywhere, locally, generally, Senate, Congress, right? He won't be able to pass any of these stupid ass laws. He will have to stop dead in his fucking tracks, the same way they did Obama and the same way they was fucking with Biden. You could do it to him too. You just have to give the majority to the Democrats so they could deadlock his ass on a lot of fucking things. And he won't be able to move forward. He'll just sit there stagnantly for the next 2.5, 3.5 years till he gets the fuck out. Or dies, whichever one, because he's an old motherfucker. He's not going to live forever, right? So this is the things that we have to think about. But that illiteracy problem is real. And in addition to what we could do with each other in our homes, do not forget that most libraries have literacy programs for free of charge. And the sad part about them fucking with the Department of Education is the fact that the Department of Education most times has online literacy programs and programs you could do on the weekends and after school, because they know that a lot of grown, hardworking people are illiterate. I honestly used to work in a program like that years and years ago in Flushing Library. I worked in the ESL department because I speak more than one language, right? And I was there helping the people learn English and learn to read and grammar and everything else, because of the fact that the Department of Education had that program in the library for people who newly came to America. And it was not just Hispanics, okay? And, you know, contrary to popular opinion, this is not for nothing. I just have to make this point, because a lot of people, because they live in America and they're always only adjacent to Hispanic language, they don't understand that the largest spoken language in this world is French. French takes over 3/4 of the earth, okay? Because when you think about Africa is the largest continent in this world, almost everybody in Africa speaks French. And then you have French in almost every continent. You get what I mean? So it's a lot. Whereas with Spanish, you basically only have it in like one continent, because you have it in North America. South America too, but it's pretty much the same. You know what I mean? But you're not going to have it in Asia. You're not going to have it in Africa. It's only one fucking country in Africa that speaks Spanish, and that's New Guinea. And there's only one country in Africa that speaks Portugal. Okay? So, do you understand what I'm saying? So anyway, this is why I'm saying literacy is important. And it's good for you to understand things worldwide, not just locally or where you live wide, because there's more to life than what we're doing. But the ability for people to read, speak, and write languages is important. So, listen, the illiteracy thing is a big thing. And although I started out this video talking about a woman whose video I saw was talking about black males, I'm speaking to black women about their children, because children, in my opinion, are way more important than adults. And with the fact that in this country you have documented and targeted incidents of the school to prison pipeline, it would not hurt you to make sure, even if you have to make a video of yourself reading the book to your child page by page, and then having your child follow you along page by page until they are able to successfully read that book on their own, you need to start doing all types of little educational tricks like that in order to make sure your child can read on grade levels beyond what their age dictates. So if they're in the 3rd grade, make sure that they're working towards being on a 5th grade reading level. And you could do that by simply having them sit down and practice reading every other day, if not every day. Every day is not going to kill them. We actually had to read every day. We didn't have to read a long time, but we had to read 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. Altogether an hour a day, okay? And believe me, that shit goes really fast when you're not caring about it or you actually get used to it. Because after we start getting really used to reading, my grandmother would give us like maybe 4 pages, 5 pages to read. Then we could do puzzles and Scrabble, stuff like that, right? Where you still were dealing with literacy, but you had to think differently about the words and etc., etc. All of that teaches children to process thought, to think, for their minds to grow, for them to approach a problem differently. So let me tell you, it's important for us to start thinking about stuff like that more, instead of relationships, worrying about stupid shit online, what we're doing with any type of male or men. That shit is not important. Because if you haven't noticed, I put up a video about it earlier. In Georgia, black women are under serious assault. Another young lady had a miscarriage and now she is in jail after almost dying. Relationships are not important. Dealing with the children you have, if you have them, and making sure your child does not become a statistic should be way more important to you than any of this dumb shit we are currently involved in. I'm dead serious. Like, I put up a video last night, right, in reference to women in New York City, but it applies to anybody. Because anybody that gets a job here and they come here, you can make it through, right? You know, we got Airbnbs here. We have extended stay hotels. If you get a high-paying job, bring your ass here. Bring your ass here, take your time, and look for an apartment. There are affordable apartments here, contrary to popular opinion. Are you going to find it in a week? Most definitely not. But you will find it. With the help of TikTok, because I have found some good fucking apartments on TikTok. And you never know. I just like to do shit like that. I like to know what's going on in my city. But anyway, right? Literacy is a real thing. And it's something that doesn't have to be problematic if you just take simple things every day to help with your literacy become a habit. And then you never will have that problem again. I'm telling you. It's that simple. And I practice what I preach, right? Because every other day I read something that I have no knowledge of just to do it. Because I have to be aware of things besides just what I know or want to know, whether I like it or not. I was taught that as a child. I still continue that to this day. This is what I'm saying. That's why a lot of things that become habitual is important. If you teach your children to be habitual about education, you never have to worry about them. And when I tell you I practice what I preach, I practice what I preach. I just was having a conversation earlier today, right, with my cousin who relocated from New York to Georgia, who's coming back to New York from Georgia because she says she doesn't like it, right? Okay. She and I were going over jobs in New York, and we were going over AI, and we were going over, like, it depends on, like, what field you're interested in. So she has a master's degree in social work. So she has MSW, right? So there are different, like, supervisory, what do they call it? Supervisory methods, right? That are used in certain fields. So when you're in social work, there are a lot of them. But a really popular one is called the Kadushin theory, right? Or Kadushin model. So it uses like 3 principles, and then it has like 4 elements that go with the principle. So her and I were discussing like the new principles and the new changes for 2025 within that field. And then I went online to find out like the agencies in New York City that actually use those models so that she could apply for them. And I, just all types of stuff, like trying to get the information you need to apply for a job. You would not be able to do that if you did not take literacy seriously. Okay? Because it's not just enough to read things. You have to understand them. And let me just let y'all know something else about any test you want to take. Always, literacy is important. Always use the library, right? The library has every type of book you can imagine to prepare you for any test you want to take, any job you would like to get, understanding something you don't understand, and literally advancing you in the understanding of literacy. There are books in there that will teach you how an IQ test was developed, how it's made, how it's graded, how you can pass it, how you can get the best score. Books on test taking strategies, There are quite a few strategies to taking tests. It's just nothing is not just about knowledge or being bright. There's always a rhyme and a reason and a method to the madness with everything in this world. Because you got to remember who are the people that are creating these things. These people are not very bright. So it's always a theme or a way to get where you're going. There's navigation to it. So with those things that I spoke to you about, with her trying to relocate, looking for the positions in her field, she has to take psychology tests, right? And what these tests do is they go over your personality, they go over your psychology as a person, right? So it's called psychological testing. There are books to teach you how to pass those tests with flying colors, because the person testing you is trained to look for certain things about your mannerisms, behavior, and body movement, language, and etc. It's not so much about how smart you are, the degree you got, whatever. They're always, in the way you got to understand stuff about things, which is why literacy is important. Most times in America, and this is a real problem with America, which is why America is always going to be fucked up in a lot of ways. They're always looking for the worst case scenario in people. And they always have the lowest fucking expectation for children and adults. That is why there's always a test for this. I have to like you for that. If I don't know you, I'm not giving you this. And all of this is based off of understanding literacy. Right now, as I'm talking to you on the news, there is a story that I have muted about Barnes & Noble. I have to tell you, a lot of Barnes & Nobles were shut down in New York City long before all the COVID stuff. And do you know why? They were shut down because Barnes & Noble in New York used to have a program where they would read to the children, like almost every day in the store. So that was another way for parents who did not know how to teach their children to read, or how to go about getting their kids motivated and to build up the morale for reading, learning, and literacy. You had a big ass bookstore helping you out with that. And what happened was that a lot of those children developed a love for reading. And then all of a sudden, Barnes & Noble had to go out of business, and there were only selected locations all over New York City. Like right now, the biggest one is on 14 Union Square in Manhattan. There used to be one, there used to be one down the block from my house. Literally. And I used to walk my kids down there all the time and sit them in the children's section and just let them read. I don't know if y'all know this character. It's Paddington Bear. He's from England. My kids used to love that teddy bear. I don't know why. But every book, they read him, and they read the Bear Family, if you ever know anything about them. And what was the other one they used to like from England too? It had the characters like Pig Will and Pig Won't. It's a long time ago, y'all. My kids like in their 30s. I can't remember that one. But anyway, this is what happens when you have the love of literature and you teach your children to create, develop, build a love of literature. They can get lost in their imagination. They can get lost in the characters of whatever it is that they find exhilarating. Like my oldest son, as crazy as this sounds, he used to have a love for Shakespeare. I don't know why. I think it was his English teacher. Like crazy kooky man, but he could break Shakespeare down like it was nobody's business. And my son was in a play, and he was King Lear. And so he loved that shit. And every the little boy running around the house with a cape on and the crowd reciting shit. It was hilarious. But anyway, he loved that stuff. And to this day, he goes to, like, in Manhattan, Shakespeare in the Park. He goes to the Harlem Theater of Shakespeare. We have all this shit in New York. So he's always there. And when the Metropolitan Opera has their opera season, and they actually have free viewings for us poor folks, I'm always there, right? They let us see operas. And sometimes also at the Carnegie Hall, they will have like a performance, a musical performance of some of the greatest operas or whatever. it's free. It's free to the people. You go. And then Bradford Marsalis has a jazz program at the Metropolitan Opera, and what's the other place he's always at? It's Radio City Music Hall, Metropolitan Opera, and there's one more place I can't think of right now, right? Is it the Synharmonic? It might be, right? But anyway, I can't remember the third place. But he also has like a literacy program for children, where his literacy program teaches them to read music. And that's another thing I forgot to tell y'all, even though this video is getting crazy long, right? That also when I was in school, the best part about being in junior high school was that we learned instruments, and we actually learned to read music, write music, and play the piano. Now, being a Louisiana kindred, my people live, breathe, eat, smoke, and drink music, okay? So we have singers, we have musicians, we have everybody that loves music. And if you've ever been to Louisiana, all parts, you know that music is in our blood, right? And it is what it is. And I could sort of like say the same thing for New York, because New York is a very musical place too. Not as musical as Louisiana, but it comes second close, because somebody is always making music here, even if it's on some, outdated fucking machine, the music machines. I forget what they were called. Them little keyboard things. I forget. But all of that is literacy, y'all. And we got to start introducing that stuff back to our children so that they could understand what purposeful performance means. You get what I mean? They got to find a purpose in performing something to almost perfection. So you got to get them like hooked on being the best at whatever it is they decide to do. And nothing does that better than literacy. I mean, introduce them to some of the classics. And it doesn't always have to be the white classics. There are a ton of black classics out there. And just let them read and let their imaginations go wild. I mean, I had this big ass book when I was little that was full of fables and folk tales from Native Americans and black people, right? And it taught me about wendigos. It taught me about like banshees and griots and all this type of stuff culturally from black people and from natives, black Native Americans, and the other ones that came after. So I used to read all of these things, and I learned about the Great Spirit, which is, symbolized by the wolf, which is why I love Naya so much, because she always reminds me of the Great Spirit. She turned around when I said that. And like, I learned the symbolism and the actual history of like dream catchers and circle dances and Naya, right? Traditional dance and different things, right? And so that was very interesting to me. So, maybe your kid will like comic books, or maybe your kid likes sci-fi. But believe me, once you open them up to a world of where they can escape, and not escape because they're running from something, but for them to just go somewhere where it's full of fantasy, full of adventure, and whatever they want it to be, I think you'll see a change in their personality, the way they think, their character. They're going to blossom. And in saying that just now, I thought about something else that my kids had when they were small, like in elementary and junior high school. There used to be these books called You Write Your Own Story or Who Done It. And they were written by like R.L. Stein. He used to write a lot of Goosebump books, right? But he used to have these books where they were called Choose Your Own Adventure. I got it right now, right? So you would read this book. Then when you get to a certain part of the book, the page would tell you, okay, so do you want him to go through this door, or do you want him to go to that door? If he goes over here, this may happen. If he goes over here, this will happen. Which adventure would you like to choose next? And when you have books like that, this grows the creativity of your child. It grows like the ability for your kids to be social and not be socialized easily by things that are harmful to them. It grows their esteem. It grows their ability to analyze something and understand, like, this might be a little harmful to me, or yeah, this is quite fine. It gives them a judgment level that is beyond their age, their chronological age. So it makes them think on a larger age scale, and they don't do things almost age appropriately anymore. They think bigger than that. So I think that's a great thing to want to think about and understand. And an even better way to eliminate adult people like the black males that are out here very much undereducated, very much underemployed, very much ignorant, and menaces to society, and not really giving a fuck about improving themselves or even understanding that in life, your whole goal as an individual should be to reach your highest level of self-efficacy, like becoming your best person. And, you would like to encourage that in your child and not have them turn out like a lot of the people that are here today that are just wasting their fucking lives away. All right, I've talked too much, okay? Try to develop a love for reading for your kids. And if they do, you will never have to worry about them sleeping on your fucking couch forever, beating you in your head when you're 70, because they will be intelligent. And they will have their own options and their own arsenal of things to keep them employed, self-determined, and self-reliable. It's just, you want them to be functional adults. You don't want them to suffer from some type of failure to thrive, or just, be stymied to the point where they're your burden for the rest of your life. So in order for that not to happen, you gotta take literacy seriously. Reading comprehension is key. Peace out.